Hi everybody, I'm Pamela Atwood. I'm a gerontologist, certified dementia practitioner, and a certified laughter leader. And welcome back to our Confident Caregiver series. I'm really happy to bring this information to you today, which is focusing on how to make multi-sensory approaches during visits. So this is kind of like activities, but it's also for all of us with our brain health. So even if you aren't taking care of somebody with a cognitive impairment, this is great for any kind of a visit where you're not quite sure maybe what to do during your visit, or even if you're just talking with your family and you say, okay, well, we need to do something special and unique. I don't really want to go to the movies. What else can we do? A multi-sensory engagement activity is great for your brain health. So let's talk about what some of these things are. I actually wrote a blog article about this a couple months ago, and it was called Using Your Common Sense, S-E-N-S-E, hyphen sense, S-C-E-N-T-S, and sense, C-E-N-T-S. So lots of different senses involved in this. What I wanted to start with is how to kind of structure this. So with very little pre-planning, you can do a really meaningful visit, tapping into multiple different parts of the brain for cognitive health. So for instance, if we start with just a simple scented lotion, and especially in New England this time of year, my hands are always so dry. So when we're doing a hand massage, and you can do a hand massage with your partner, with your kids can do one for you, and also if you're visiting with someone. What you want to do is you don't want to use too much lotion, and you don't want it to be too greasy. Now, unfortunately, my hands are really dry, so this immediately went right into my dry little hands. So I have like nothing left to massage. What you want to do is you want to focus on some of the knuckles, and you don't want to press too hard. You just want to make small circles around the different joints. And you want to start around the meat. You want to be very, very careful. With older adults, skin becomes very fragile and you can get a skin tear very easily. So you want to use a very, very light touch. Humans need touch. We need connection, and in the palms of our hands are the centers. So when people do acupressure, that's where the centers in our body sense feeling well, which is one of the reasons when we shake hands in our culture, we shake hands, and that's a feeling of wellness as well. When we're working in a long-term care setting with people with cognitive impairments, frequently they'll grasp your hand very, very tightly. And part of that's because their palm is getting a lot of really good feedback from that. It feels good to them. What we coach our staff to do is to start with a handshake, but then very quickly move to well, it's kind of hard to do it to yourself, kind of that thumb to thumb, so that there's palm to palm contact. And you can put the older adult, the patient or the caregivers, it's a terrible term, I don't know why I even said that, but you can put the older adult's hand on top so that they feel like they have some more control. But then place your other hand, your free hand on top, and just gently rub so that they're feeling a little bit of warmth there as well. That's very helpful. So a hand massage can be very helpful, and then you can just kind of do little circles along the insides and around in this area. If someone is very old and frail, they may have contractures, which is where their hand muscles are kind of, curling in on themselves or whatever. That can be very painful. So please do not hyperextend that. You really want to work with an occupational therapist for that to help get them into a position. Even I've seen clients back in the olden days, we used to have clients whose fingernails would literally dig into the insides of their palms, very difficult. And that contracture is very painful. So you want to be very careful of that. If you notice that starting to happen, you want to get a hold of the doctor or healthcare professional very quickly so that that can get some attention. So some nice scented lotion should help a little bit. I do want to point out a little bit, and I'm trying really hard here not to show labels, oils, essential oils. I love using essential oils. Lavender is really the only oil that can go directly on your skin. The rest of them need a carrier oil. So I'm trying to see where's my, okay, so I have a sweet almond oil here. That's my carrier oil. And I can just put this into a little doohickey thing here. I had a little Oh, you can even get little tiny little ones for your essential oils. And then you can put the scents in. So I have, this one is frankincense, and if you get a really good aromatherapy guide, you can kind of look at what are some of the benefits for the different oils. So I have a frankincense oil. I have a combination, a blended oil called Peace and Calming. And then I also have lavender, because I use lavender a lot. And even with myself, I know my lavender, I like to just smell my lavender, and you can put even just a little bit on the side here. I sometimes will put this onto my pillow at night, and it does help me sleep a little bit. You can get a diffuser and put it in the room and just kind of use a nice way of controlling the environment a little bit more with some positive scents. Now the flip side of that is kind of an energy oil, and I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, of course, now I have lotion all over my hand, so I can't open it. I believe that this one is a more stimulating scent, and it is a citrus scent. For especially men, for some reason, and I'm certainly not an expert in essential oils. There are lots of experts out there who have a lot of great information out there. Do some research, find out more about it, learn something. Well, I know what it is. The lemongrass is really great, and lemon scent. And I've even had clients in my Parkinson's support group that I co-facilitate with a friend of mine, and sometimes people with Parkinson's lose their sense of smell very early. And her husband actually has no sense of smell and hasn't for many years. He could smell the lemon essential oils. So it's really amazing when you start to experiment a little bit. If someone has a sensitivity or a medication that they take where they can't have something like, so for instance, if they are allergic to something, or if they are on a medication where they can't have grapefruit, for example, you should avoid the essential oils with those compounds as well. So I do want to put that in. None of this is ever meant as any kind of medical training or medical information. Please, if you have any questions, you really do need to check with people. We want to make sure that when we're taking care of folks, we're not increasing their risk of seizures or anything like that. And most of the time, essential oils don't include those risks, but you do want to check before you just try anything new. I have here, oh, this is my lemon scented room spray, and I love this smell. So I'm very much affected by the sense of smell as much as I am singing and music. So those are my two things that I'm very sensitive to. So, and I'll have to thank my daughter for bringing that downstairs for me for this show. So the next thing that I wanted to share with you is these are some things that we just found at a local consignment store, and they are old buttons. And what I love about these, they're large enough so that older hands can manipulate them, but they're also different. So there are two different sizes. So let me put these aside here. We've got the smaller button and the larger button. So clearly they're different, but also somebody can sort them. So if we have a pile of them, you can separate them and say, okay, we're going to make a sweater. I've been knitting a sweater, or I've been crocheting, and I want to put some buttons on this. I found these wonderful old buttons. 2 of them will go on the cuffs and the rest will go on the sweater. So can you help me sort these out? And you can even polish them up. There are lots of different kinds of things that you can do. Fine motor activity is a wonderful way of engaging the brain, and using something as simple as buttons, something from everyday life, is a great way to stimulate the cognitive awareness into something familiar as well. The next thing that we would do is utilizing different kinds of flavors. You can go to, if the person doesn't have diabetes, go get some of those flavored jelly beans and try to guess which of the different flavors are. You can also use different scents, like I went to my spice cabinet and got 3 different spices. So you can just do a quick little game to say, okay, which one does this smell like? Cinnamon. Actually kind of cinnamon and lavender. Sorry. Cinnamon and, oh, what does that remind you of? That reminds me of baking and pies and Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I have my cinnamon. Now this one is curry. I love curry. Yep. Curry. And this scent reminds me, When we were in college, my husband's roommates were from Sri Lanka, and I can still almost taste some of the food that they used to make. And curry, just kind of, the whole apartment smelled like curry. And then my last one was a cognitive exercise. I don't even remember which ones I pulled out. Cloves. This one actually reminds me. My mom used to make, she was a teacher when I was very young, and she used to make this herbed tea when someone had a cold, and it had like tang and lemonade and cinnamon and sugar in it, and it was a wonderful tea that you would prepare warm. And it just felt so good on a sore throat. And ground cloves was one of the spices in there, and because cloves are so strong, that scent just triggers that memory to me. Memories tether to our senses. Memories tether to music, and memories also tether to our sense of smell. So that's why the sense of smell can be so important and so effective in connecting with someone cognitively and in challenging our brains. So then another thing that you can do during your quick visit is, while you're transitioning from one thing to the next or going to get a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, you can just sing 3 patriotic songs. And you can sing, "Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain." And you can sing, "You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag," and go through those kinds of songs. What's another one? "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's..." So you get the point, though. So by using 3 patriotic songs, or 3 folk songs, or 3 songs that we used to sing in church or synagogue, those are the kinds of things that, or from your favorite play or Broadway show, those also could tap into different memories and can give you a really delightful visit that isn't at all questioning, what did you have for breakfast? What did you have for lunch? Or, gee, Mom, you really need to do more walking, or anything like that. It can be pleasant, it's stimulating, and it's cognitively beneficial as well. The last thing that I brought was just some change. You can use different kinds of things in the environment to stimulate the senses. Some simple pocket change. I've got here a couple of quarters. I hoard quarters. That's left over from when I was in college. We used to always have to collect quarters so that we could do our laundry. I still hoard quarters. And I have 4 pennies and a dime and a nickel. Now, the obvious thing to do here is to say, okay, I'm going to add it all up. But I also want to know, in what patterns, how many different ways could you make 60 cents? Or if you took all of the large silver ones and the copper ones, how much money would you have? Or can you put them in different sizes? Or can you sort them into piles? So there are lots of different things that you can do with the sense that you have that can be cognitively stimulating as well. A friend of mine, a colleague, recently was visiting with one of her clients, and she brought out an old Scrabble game and takes all the rules and the extra tools and tosses them aside and just put out some of the words. Now, that was too much for her client at first, so what she did was she just took out a couple, like maybe 10 tiles, and said, "Do we see any words here? And sure enough, with enough time, and sometimes you have to wait like 30 seconds, the client was able to say, O-N-E. And the actual physical moving was difficult, but she was able to put together words. So these little tiny things can have a great impact. I did find a quote. I went a little longer today than I usually do, but I did find a quote. I have the new book that I'm reading. It's not a new book, but for me it's a new book, and a friend of mine let me borrow it. It's a national bestseller called My Grandfather's Blessings, and it is stories of strength, refuge, and belonging. It's by Rachel Naomi Riemann, MD, and it's a very good book, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. And at the end of, and what I love about this book, much like the other book that I found, is that all of these chapters are like 1 or 2 pages long, maybe 3. This one that I just picked is 4 pages long, but most of them are very, very short, but very inspirational and very meaningful and very deep. So I work at Hebrew Healthcare, and as I always say, you can always check us out on HebrewHealthcare.org, or the website that we utilize for our caregivers is agingcareacademy.org. So www.agingcareacademy.org. And in there also, on that website, we have a lot of information about these kinds of programs and activities. Again, there's a whole article there called Engage Me. But I wanted to just start with this particular quote that I found in this book, which starts with l'chaim, which in the Jewish faith, and I'm not Jewish, you don't have to be Jewish to go to the Hebrew home or to live there, but l'chaim is always been considered about life and having a good life, to life, l'chaim. So l'chaim in this book is what they're saying is a way of living life. As I've grown older, it seems less and less about celebrating life and more about the wisdom of choosing life. In the many years that I have been counseling people with cancer, I have seen people choose life again and again, despite loss and pain and difficulty. The same immutable joy I saw in my grandfather's eyes is there in them all. I think that a lot of times families say to me, well, what's the point of all of these activities? Why do I need to do this? It's not going to make a difference. It's about choosing to live. It's about choosing to live life. And I hope that no matter what you do with your activities and with your day, that when you stimulate your brain, when you think about being well, and you think about all of the different senses that we have at our disposal, we can experience all that life has to offer. Thank you again for joining me. I hope you'll continue to subscribe to this video series. And you can always follow me on Instagram at pamela.atwood. And you can email me directly at pamelaatwood, LOL, @gmail.com. Until the next show, thank you very much.